Okay, 2 weeks ago I had my last control scan, and just openly speaking, the results, they don't look so good. Now I had 2 weeks time to process that, and I want to share with you first of all how I felt, how I freaked out, what I decided to do about it, and then how a little miracle happened. I start with a video I recorded directly after I got the result, and I want to show you this because it really represents very well how I felt, and also it shows like how emotional I am, and I think it's important to also share this part of a journey and not always think for me it's everything easy and fine and positivity. And so I start with this video, and then yes, I explain you what I'm gonna do with it and where we're standing today. So here you go.
Okay, so I got the results and they are not so good. There is nothing I can talk around it. So I just want to capture what I feel, think, and yeah, how it is. So what happened is that to the 2 spots we already know in the liver, additionally we see another 4 spots in the liver. There is nothing outside the liver, but in the liver there's another 4 little small spots, and that's not such a good news. They are all over the place, different locations, so there's no pattern. And my oncologist was not so happy or like disappointed as me. Of course, he was also hoping for better results. And this is not such a good news because it seems like it's always popping up, and we are not sure yet if it makes sense to attack that through a surgery or to cut it out, or what we should do with it. So now the next steps is that we just evaluate what else we can do. Chemo is probably not an option in my case because it never works, and we see if I should get into the waiting list for a liver transplant. That we don't know yet if that makes sense. So now all the different teams are taking a look at it, or like discussing it, and then we see. And so how do I feel? I feel very sad and disappointed, and I was obviously hoping for better news. Feel emotional and just out of energy. Yes, of course I was hoping for better. It feels a bit surreal to hear that. So that's the one side of my emotional cocktail. Bit overwhelmed, not knowing what to do, just having here a feeling that feels bigger than me. And on the other side, I also feel that I've been in such situations before. And when I look back, I had many situations where it didn't look good, and so I also want to hold back myself of not getting too emotional and not getting too much into the head cinema of like just spinning, and first see, okay, what other people say, what other teams are saying, and then take it from there. But yeah, it's not so good. It's a big F, if I have to be honest, and sometimes it's just like this. But, we see what will go on. Talk to you then. Bye bye.
As you can see, I'm pretty emotional, and I'm honest, like the last 2 weeks were probably the hardest, or some of the hardest of my life. I went through all kind of emotions up and down, and it's pretty hard to put that into words, actually, how it felt. Now, what I did when I came home first, it was of course, a mix between shock and emotionality, and I had to cry, I had a breakdown, I had everything. I needed space. I was disconnecting myself a little bit from work, from people, just to have my own little bubble, which I needed, and it was good. But then something very interesting happened. I started to re-evaluate my life in terms of energy. Okay, so I was thinking, what brings good energy to my life and what drags energy, like what gives me energy and what takes energy away. And I started to do this first in my book here, made some energy maps, and then I actually made a bigger map on the floor, going completely crazy. It was a beautiful process because I was just laying out all aspects of my life, people, work, free time, whatever it is that lifts me up, that brings me energy, that I believe has a positive effect on my well-being, and also the stuff that drags me down. And it became so clear to me. And so I got radical with starting to remove things and stuff from my day that is not good for me. Digital, physical, in my daily life. I started to clean up my house. I started to clean up my closet. I started to get rid of these dragging sources of energy. And I also paid more attention of like, okay, what is actually good? Like what brings me a little smile on my face? And it was a beautiful moment. I dived into that. It felt like somebody was taking away like shady goggles, and suddenly I had a very clear view on the world. It was like a trip, and as a trip it's very hard to describe what goes on in words. And honestly speaking, I wish everybody on this planet to have this like clear view on life without having to go through what I have to go through at the moment, because it's really a beautiful experience. It's an eye-opening experience. And so I'm happy I captured all of that, and this door opened to me like, okay, what do I really want if I have 2 years left? Because these were things we were discussing at the doctor's visit, like, okay, if we don't find a treatment, if we don't find the possibility to transplant my liver, I have 1, 2, 3 years. And it's a very hard question, what you do, and suddenly it becomes very clear what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And also it becomes clear how precious it is to be here and like spending time with people and doing what you are able to do while you're still able to do it. So that is what I did, and then something happened. I was at work. I had like one meeting I couldn't switch, and so I just finished that meeting, and then my phone rang, and it was my doctor, and he called me and he said that they discussed my case again and that it seemed that we can have surgery. So the first initial statement or impression we got was like, no, the surgery is not possible. And then they looked at it again. I also got a second opinion which confirmed me, and it was of course a huge mind changer. I'm still getting now emotional because it puts me away from the palliatives track back on a possible track that we maybe can even stabilize the whole thing. So it was a huge release. It still is. I feel very grateful for that, and it teaches me different things that you can also pick up for your own journey, whatever you're facing. First is, and I was impressed. I was actually saying that in my video, in my first video. I don't want to jump or like get too emotional before I get all the opinions on the table. Like often we get like thrown into a new situation and we freak out and we're like, oh my God, it's like, no. And what I really learned in the last 8 years, like, okay, it looks really like big F, it looks really like not good, but wait, let's look at it con calma, like with peace. Let's say, what are all the options? And of course I was emotional, but I was somehow also not completely freaking out. And I'm very grateful that I had the handbrake on. It's like, okay, we have to take a look with it with peace and with profound information, not just like the first impression. So that's what I learned. And the second thing I learned is it's very healthy to ask yourself, like, okay, what do you really want? What do you really want if you only have a limited amount of time to live? And the funny thing is, we all have a limited amount of time to live. We just are not aware of it. We don't believe it. Just like splatter around and yeah, we do what we want. But no, it's like we all have to go at one point. And the $1 million question is, what do you do before that? And to ask yourself this question, like, honestly, like, if I only have 1, 2 years or 10 years or whatever, like, how do I want to spend my time? That's such a good question. And it's like such a good thing to take your time, take a big piece of paper and write down what is important to you and what isn't, and then get radical. My mom recently said me, yeah, sometimes I'm very radical. Yes, I am, but I'm not sorry about it, because it also helps me to laser focus on what is important and to actually be with the people that I love being with and do the things that I want to do. It also brought me to what I'm doing here and now, because I at one point became some kind of radical or like very decisive of what I want and what I don't want. And I get confirmation again and again that this is, for at least for me, the way how I reach the stuff in life that I want to reach. So yes, these are the two learnings that I got. Like, don't get too emotional in the beginning. Like take all the information first into place, into the equation. And second, like, don't wait until somebody tells you have 2 years left to live before you ask yourself what you really want. It's really worth to do it like early enough. And now a third thing, and that's something you can do. And with you, I mean you watching this video, you like being the audience or an outsider, or maybe you are like next to somebody that has to go through something tricky. Don't share your heavy emotions with them. Okay, so you have to understand as a patient, if you get news like that, and this is also like if you want to write a comment, don't write, I'm sorry, and oh, it makes me feel heavy and sad. I understand that. Like, and if you have these emotions, process it for you, go through it, like, don't hold it back, like, let it out. Find a way to express those emotions, but don't throw those emotions back at us. At us, I mean the patients, like, because we have already heavy emotions. So be empathic, yes, but also think about emotions and sharing emotions like this energy equation. Like, if you want to support somebody, ask yourself how you can like provide an energy that is actually uplifting but still honest. It's not about just be positive and all will be fine. Just be with them as a friend side, but don't offload your heavy emotions on us or on them. If you have that, keep that for yourself, and otherwise just write energy giving stuff in the comments and tell it to your friends, because I strongly believe more and more that it really has a positive effect on how you feel and how you heal. So yes, that's the update. As you see, I'm smiling a little bit more, despite I know I'm gonna face a huge treatment in the coming months. I don't know when it is. I will keep you posted for sure. But I'm very happy that we have some medical options. And I'm also happy that I started this process with like asking myself, okay, what do I really want in my life? So, curious to hear from you what you want, and wish you all the best. See you then. Bye bye.